My Little Pony has one of the strangest relationships when it comes to vinyl toys. Typically, there is a trend to give nostalgic cartoons of the past new collector items meant for an older audience. These vinyl toys, usually in blind boxes or standalone statues, are generally exactly on-model characters that feel like they're ripped straight out of the show, or an artistic depiction of the character that drastically changes their form or stylization to give it a designer reputation. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, has the advantage of having this kind of stuff present since the beginning of its incarnation. Possibly because there was an influx of adult bronies and companies felt they could cash in on this new wave of folks who probably want something a little more classy than the brushable figures that were already in store because they are just a bunch of freaking cowards. The vinyl toy journey for My Little Pony is one of interest. I think you can split the My Little Pony vinyl toys into two eras, the 2010s and the 2020s. Each have interesting releases and, most importantly, priorities on what figures to make for. Our journey begins with Funko. Yes, before they subjugated everyone to these soulless Hux's beings, Funko used to release a line of My Little Pony vinyl figures, these being model-accurate figurines of the ponies just standing there menacingly. Depending on who you are, you might have intense nostalgia for these. I mean, I always remember seeing them at the Hot Topic aisle with this exact setup. Look at this beauty. They don't make them like they used to anymore. This packaging too. One thing to note is this packaging that has been designed to steer off from the more pink and feminine packaging in flavor of this sleek black packaging. They of course started releasing the main six, that being Twilight, Applejack, Fluttershy, Rarity, the best one, and Rainbow Frickin' Dash. Then they gave secondary characters treatments with fan favorites like Octavia, DJ Pawn 3, Mare Duel, and I mean I Heart Grey Horse. They couldn't call this Derpy due to the whole Derpygate controversy. Basically, with how some parents fearing that Derpy was an ableist character and they had to change her one appearance in one of the episodes. I can't go much into detail about here, but if you want to know more, there are a couple videos talking about the matter that I highly recommend. But what I will say is, despite how well crafted and model accurate they were, and having so many characters to choose from, there was a huge lack of variety in the posing department. Every single pony has this exact same style, almost this kind of model sheet look to them. Although, to be fair, it does mimic the kind of base model thing that many vinyl toys follow, and this would later kickstart Funko Pop's own base model as well to produce literally everything in the known universe. It does get boring, and they would try to spice it up with variants like an all black and glitter resin. Thankfully, when they branched to more mystery minis, they did get a lot better in the posing, and there's a lot of variety in here, which is interesting. Despite this, these are really cool collectibles to own, and their simplicity is a charm. Sadly, once the almighty Soulless Eye started taking form, they brought the MLP cast with them, and it's been downhill ever since. And a bit of a shame, because later characters did not get the pony form treatment. Like, it would have been cool if we got a Sunset Shimmer figure in the style. But no, she was born too late, and not only was she cursed to have the Black Eyes of Doom, but it turns out this one's an NXT exclusive. So yeah, that's interesting. But if more dynamic posing is what you want out of your ponies, then I got the company for you. While they're not around anymore, We Love Fine used to be the one-stop shop for all your brony needs. They produced stuff specifically tailor-made for the fandom, as shirts, backpacks, and for this video, vinyl toys. Now, one thing you'll notice about these toys is that instead of focusing on the main characters, then trickling down the secondary favorites, they just made figures of specific memes and fan favorite moments that only a true bronysieur would appreciate. This is why you have figures like this ugly future Twilight figure. Yes, I know this is supposed to be a Metal Gear Solid reference in the show, but come on, look at this. For me, they have the reverse problem of the Funko figures, that these are incredibly posed with so much life and detail, but a ton of them tend to go off-model, whether that be for creative freedom or just the sculptors not having the skills to make a fully articulated horse. I mean, take this figure of Flutterbat that I own, wonderfully sculpted by Verdant Sculpts, but if you look at side by side with the original art, it's clear that a lot of liberties were taken. Also, this came with a metal coin that is parroting those Kingdom Hearts glass-stained circle thingies. This was a very popular thing in the fandom, but kinda weird how this was given an okay for Hasbro. Also, another nitpick, have you noticed that none of these figures are standing in all fours? I thought you said when they stand in all fours it makes them look bland. Well, there are ways you can make floor-standing ponies look cool and dynamic, and we'll see more figures doing that, including We Love Fine themselves. But yeah, look, half the selection are Pegasus so that the bases are always on their tail, and most of them are standing on their toes like humans. But again, I believe this mostly boils down to difficulties with coming up with good four-legged poses for the figures. But I do have to mention that these are minor nitpicks, and most of the figures are really well done and sculpted, especially the Flutterbat I own. There's a lot of detail on the hair, and the facial structure just makes up for the off-model appearance. Another great figure I want to shout out to is this gorgeous Discord and Fluttershy figure by Sajira. However, getting these at the time of the release was a real pain. We Love Fine was notorious for delayed shipping, and with my experiences, I bought this in 2015 and it missed its shipping date by months. In fact, I actually contacted support and was convinced it'll never come, so they decided to give me a 40% discount coupon as a refund. But either way, I still got my Flutterbat anyway, which I thought was pretty funny. Then after that, they would release a Chibi blind box set featuring a random set of My Little Pony characters. Oh look, some of them are standing in fours and look cool. Talk about improvement. However, as you can see here, the choices for characters really delve down into fan favorites, so the first set was actually 3 of the main 6, and Flutterbat was actually chosen before her noble form, and of course, Derpy Hooves. And set 2 would give us these other characters, including Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. But what's really funny within both of these sets is that they do not feature Applejack at all. I wonder if they realized, oh shit, we forgot about her, and then they decided to regulate her into a singular release. I mean, I knew Applejack was the least fan favorite of the main 6, but damn, this is going too far. But that's going to conclude We Love Fine's vinyl toys. You know, it's interesting to look back at not only these vinyl toys, but We Love Fine as a whole. Not only do they serve as a time capsule of the fandom behavior at that period, but it's really a product of this time. Merchandise that hyper-focuses on fandom moments and memes instead of brand-specific ideals. Giving the spotlight to other characters who are not even first or secondary, not because an executive told you to, but because a group of people fell in love with that little thing they did. Look at this Lyra figure based on the Lyra City meme that was popular at the time. We are never gonna get any modern MLP Friendship is Magic merchandise that will reference this meme again. And on top of all of this, these are Hasbro approved products. It really sucks that we don't have anything like this nowadays, unless you're like, I don't know, SpongeBob. Nowadays, we'll have stores like the Mystery Shack or Dream Dove shop taking the baton for We Love Fine and creating a bunch of cool fan-made merchandises and figures where fans will clamor that the fandom has made better merch than the official companies. But it's a shame we don't live in a universe where the official companies took a page from Hasbro and pushed these creations to major retail stores. I would love to go to my local Hot Topic and pick up a collectible Amity figurine. A better selection then. My greatest evil strikes once again. If you want any of these My Little Pony We Love Fine figurines, do be cautious that these are going for hefty prices due to limited production. This derpy figure is way more expensive than the Comic-Con 2012 of the classic brushable figurine. And that awesome Fluttershy Discord figure? $1,000. Which way, Western viewer? Monthly rent or Fluttercord? And that's gonna be it for the vinyl figures of 2010. Well, I guess not if you count Guardians of Harmony, which I don't collect a lot of their stuff, so I didn't talk about much of them here, but in 2019, My Little Pony Friendship in Magic has had a huge resurgence in China. Extra hilarious since that was around the time they pushed G5 to be a success. Oh, my sweet summer alicorn angel. You were taken too soon for this world, you would have been amazing. Maybe this was for nostalgia's sake, but now there are more G4 MLP products that were being produced, and with a new wave came more vinyl figures. Let's start off with the Hong Kong company Mighty Jacks, which started their My Little Pony line with hidden dissectables. Now, I know you're wondering, why are these ponies cut in half like Cupcakes was officially canon? This is a series of figures dedicated to the artist Jason Freeney, who was famous for making what else? Toys of dissectable figures. So in the first set, you get the main 6 plus some variants, pretty cool. But in the second set, things get interesting. You get different secondary characters that includes the Cutie Mark Crusaders and a pre-Alicorn Twilight, which is interesting. But we also see a Debris Hooves figure, which, surprisingly enough, actually calls her by her name. That's right, no more I Heart Grey Horse anymore, this is the real deal. I'm guessing the reason this was allowed was because since this was aimed at an older audience, the controversy was very old at this point and they thought nobody would care anymore. And if you think this is something exclusive to the Mighty Jacks figurine, well, we have proof that Funko also calls Derpy Hooves by her name in this NFT card. Yes, I know, not the best example, but hey, there you go. If dissectables aren't to your liking, then how about the Crystal Friends? Another chibi blind box set where the ponies have crystallized hair, possibly a reference to the Crystal Ponies. The first set being the main 6 again, plus a Celestia colored Twilight. The second set will include Derpy, as well as a decent selection of characters, featuring Lyra, sitting but as a horse, not like a human sadly. And then there's set 3, which is the ponies in their gallop getup. Aside from blind boxes, there's also a lot of individual releases, such as Dissectable Nightmare Moon and Daybreaker. Pretty interesting considering Daybreaker doesn't get a lot of stuff. A Crystal Friends of Princess Twilight, and this funky Rainbow Dash by Ricardo Cavolo. Overall, Mighty Jacks has a pretty fine selection of ponies, an interesting parallel to We Love Fine, starting off with crazy figure ideas, then diverting to a more chibi, cuter version of vinyl toys. I think the gimmicks and concepts that are put into really executed well, and the variety of characters made sure that there was something for everybody. Now let's end this off with what I think are the best MLP vinyl toys to ever exist. The Pop Mart My Little Pony sets. Yes, before Pop Mart ruined everybody's lives with the Labubu cult taking every soul in its warped, buzzy hands, Pop Mart would make 3 sets of My Little Pony figurines. That being Natural Beings, Leisure Afternoon, and Pretty Me Up. And I gotta say, the level of the detail and posing on these figures is all insane. It's like if you took the positives I had to say for the LP Funko series and the We Love Fine, but left out the negatives, this is what you would get. What also helps too is that they are given a lot of props to interact with, which results in some very creative works here. Also, gotta give shout out to the packaging design to the blind box themselves. Pop Mart never misses when it comes to the packaging design. I mean, I archive and sleeve every blind box I own because this is a totally normal thing you do. But the MLP ones are gorgeous and they no longer have to cater to a brooding audience anymore. They can make their package as pink as feminine as they want and they look beautiful. Specifically this Leisure Afternoon, I like the logo being redesigned to have this drippy effect like it's milk and this pastel background. Mwah, chef's kiss. My only critique is that for all 3 of these sets, it's just the main 6. You may get a Celestia or K-Dig Chase, but there's no obligation to explore other characters, or hell, even use the large set size to do that instead of the main 6 again. Also in Natural Beings, for whatever reason, Rarity did not get a second figure, and was replaced by a 3rd Rainbow Dash. Wow, did someone on the team really hate Rarity or something? Anyways, this is the My Little Pony vinyl toy at its peak, and I highly recommend anybody who's a fan of this franchise get their hands on at least one of them. You'd be glad you did. And that was an extensive look at My Little Pony vinyl figurines. There's way more I did not discuss, like the various other China releases. Oh my god, there is so much. But I wanted to focus on the ones that were more important to me. Looking back, it's interesting how these two eras of vinyl toys serve completely different demographics. One side was catering to a newly emerging adult fanbase that was engaging with the franchise for the first time, while the other was making this for an audience that has already grown up with the series and loved its characters. It's interesting knowing what priorities were at the time, and how the characters selected reflected the fandom space as well. Just goes to show how great Friendship is Magic has stood with the test of time. Now Friendship is Magic is bringing in more products in the now defunct G5, which is interesting to see how this goes and what's in store for them. But despite all this, why is there not a Tokidoki collab? Like, come on, that is pretty obvious. But hey, maybe in the future. I'm Tillsweet, and let's see what the next video brings us.